I'd like to call the September 29th FinCom meeting to order. In the room, we are missing Steve, Paul, Bonnie. I think that's it. And we have no one on in the waiting room. So that's that. Before we get in or get going, one, I have to leave here at 8. So Brandon will take over at that point. 2, if I send an email out, can people respond to it? Because not everybody did. And I'm usually just emailing to either set up a meeting or to check something. And it makes it very difficult to be chairman, which I did not volunteer for, without cooperation. So I would appreciate it if you get one of my emails to actually respond to it. With that said, Mark. I've done that before. Okay. Do you want us to?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. So on the menu for today are a few new items. We purposefully chose ones that should be relatively straightforward. The next meeting will be more finance dense. And there's a couple of holdovers from last meeting. So I'll just go in order if it pleases the chair. The first item, water operating budget amendments, and the second item, sewer operating budget amendments, are just placeholders. So we'd actually ask the committee to table these items just so we're extra safe between now and town meeting, just in case we need these items. As of now, there's no request in them.
So do we vote no action if they're in the article? We can't leave it blank.
Sure. I mean, you could vote to table or no action, whatever you prefer.
Which is it, 4 and
These are numbers
5 or 3 and 4?
It's 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
All right.
If you're following along at home.
I would entertain a motion of no action at this time for Articles 4 and 5.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to for no action for Articles 4 and 5.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Go for the vote. Brandon.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Gosh. Kevin.
Yes.
And I too am, yeah, sorry about that.
Excellent. So moving on. The next item is engineering for PFAS treatment. So as you're aware, there's new federal and state guidelines for chemicals in the water. The state guidelines currently 20 parts per trillion, and our water at times has exceeded that. Therefore, the DEP has placed an administrative consent order. We are required to perform engineering design for these to treat the water to reduce the PFAS level. The federal level target goal is 4 parts per trillion. So it's a very expensive endeavor. All in, it would be in excess of 50 million. As such, we're exploring all alternative avenues to procure clean water, including discussions with other neighboring municipalities to enter into agreements to provide clean water at the best price possible for our ratepayers. So while those discussions are underway, we need to comply with the consent order. Hence, the request here is for $445 from retained earnings to
445 or
445,000.
1,000. Slight
I wish.
difference.
I wish. Wishful thinking. And if you have any questions, our water supervisor is here and can speak more to the technical details.
Mr. Chair?
Brandon?
So is this something that we have to do? There's no debate or discussion?
Good evening, everybody. This is a requirement to answer the questions that were asked as part of the ACO from Mass DEP. They give a list of suggestions to the town based on other communities and issues that they have already dealt with to come forward and comply. We are looking at, as Mr. Gould said, looking at multiple different options, including purchasing water from other communities who are already meeting the standards. We have to have discussions with them to make sure that they're capable of meeting the new standards should the numbers be lowered, as has been indicated that will happen in the very near future. So these are requirements. We have deadlines to meet with the ACO to check off all the boxes, get the information back to Mass DEP, they review all of our findings, and then also have come up with a joint determination as to what the best final solution will be.
Is there a specific timeline? A year, 2 years, 10 years?
It is a staggered timeline. We have to get information back to them at the latest by December 2026.
Mr. Chairman,
Zach?
my question is if we're exploring all options, including buying water outside, why do we have to spend this money? Why don't we get those answers first and say, okay, if we connect to Taunton, let's say, and do we still need this engineering?
We do. It's part of the requirement from Mass DEP to go through an engineering firm. We've worked with Weston and Sampson and with Mass DEP to come up with solutions in the past for water quality issues, which is how we led to the iron and manganese removal facility that we have now. This is the next step moving forward, not just for PFAS, but also for emerging contaminants, which will be other contaminants right now that are unregulated or have lower regulations that will become a full-time limited MCL. So this is the first step in a multi-step process to bringing us to compliance and remaining in compliance as we move forward.
And this money's coming out of retained earnings?
Correct.
And what is the current balance of those retained earnings? Do we know?
I do not have that number in front of me.
It's I believe one of the accounts is 5 million and the other is 3 million and change.
Sound very close. Yep.
And coming out of retained earnings, does that then set up rate hikes immediately down the road?
No, the retained earnings is money that are specifically set aside for projects or anything like this or anything unanticipated. It's leftover monies from after we have our cash returned to us. We get monies from contractors every time that they connect into the water distribution system for connection fees. That all goes into the retained earnings also, which is why it's used for this. It helps offset any major project borrowing, which would then have an impact on the payback. So anytime we can use retained earnings to start off a project like this is basically a pilot phase of a multi-step process. We're going to try and do that at all costs.
But is there a minimum before retained earnings becomes an issue?
We do not want to deplete the retained earnings down to a point where it takes a very long time to come back. There's a minimum amount of recommended retained earnings you want to have in, and basically it's so that if you had it damage to your most valuable asset, you have that immediate funding available that you can put forth to start making those repairs while you're looking for supplemental funding. So typically our number was much lower than it was right now, but now with the water treatment facility being our most valuable asset, build cost for that was just around 11 million. Replacement cost for that right now is probably around 22. So each few years that pass, that number gets higher. The retained earnings should also equal that distance between them and see that it also mutually grows in an account.
No further questions?
And this is
Article 9.
Article 9. Mr. Chair,
Brandon?
I make a motion to... Oh, not Article 9.
So I got.
Oh, change. Oh. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to pass Article 9 as written for, do I need to get into the specific amount?
For the amount.
For the amount of $445,000 from retained earnings?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Brandon?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes. Sandy's yes.
Sandy? Paula?
Yes.
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin? I too am a yes.
Excellent. Frank, don't go anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, last week, Steve Evans was standing by on the line and never got admitted, so I just want to make sure he's supposed to be on around 7:30, just to pay attention to it.
Okay. He's not there at the moment. Thank you.
Next up, construction of water mains on Elm Street.
Everybody's favorite topic. So regardless of what gets built at Reed and Barton, whether it be another building, a house, whatever ends up going there, the water main is still in need of being replaced. It falls in line with the criteria that's in place by the EPA for unknown water services. So this and many other streets in town, we do not have record of what was installed. All we know is the basic age of the water main that was installed. We know the material from repairs that we've made out there, and we know some of the materials of the service lines going to the customers by doing repairs on our side. It all falls in line with meeting the criteria of when what was known as a lead gooseneck was used. So there's cast iron mains, there's AC pipe mains. Most of the water services going to the residents here are iron pipe. So with two rigid surfaces, they need a flexible coupling. What was commonly used in the 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s was a short piece of lead, which is known as lead gooseneck. That's the flexible coupler between the town water main and the town-owned portion of the water service. This falls in line with the requirement for lead service replacements. Even though it's not a full lead service, EPA is still requiring that we identify and replace when found. Gives you a few different options. When you don't have plans to indicate exactly what's there, or even any maintenance records that have taken place over the years, and I'm guilty of it myself, I've probably dug 5 services out there and replaced the town-owned portion, which would have included that lead service, gooseneck, and the iron pipe portion on the town side. There's no record of it. You know, I was an excavator at the time. Others slightly higher than me probably should have been keeping record, and that just didn't take place. So although my memory's pretty good, and some of the others that work with us are, it's not enough to meet the EPA standards by just saying, I was at this house and I replaced it, I did this one as well. So they give you 2 options. They give you the option of digging each water service in 3 different locations, verifying what's there by a picture, and if you have to take an actual sample, they'll take that for a solution. That gives you the information that you can populate the inventory list. Doesn't solve the problem. So any of these streets, similar to age and meeting the criteria, it just makes perfect sense to go in and actually start looking at the replacement process instead of putting a Band-Aid on the problem, just for creating a list. So we're looking at this. It was the first in line on our second tier of improvements from my 2019 master plan. And since then, the cost has gone up from, I believe it was 1.8 million or 1.9 million at the time for 4,500 linear feet. And now we're coming in pretty close to the 3.5 million. It's only going to continue to increase. Obviously, cost of materials has gone sky high since COVID, and since then, we've seen contractors also, their prices have gone up slightly. So we're asking for this to be considered, with the added caveat that there is still the very random chance that we could see the grant be awarded to the town if something does get built at Reed and Barton that meets the minimum criteria of why we received the 3.5 million grant in the first place. We don't want this article to hinge on that, but we want to have it as a possible funding source because there is still some hope that something may be built there, and it would be foolish of us not to list that in the article as a funding source and have something build there, and now we're not able to attach the grant money. So the potential's there that it could be paid for in its entirety, although very slim. So I just want to be very clear about that.
What's the timeline for grant, no grant?
We've had multiple discussions with the grant people, with EPA, and they are willing to extend, again, if we can get a commitment from the person who's looking to build there, which has been the problem all along. I personally think it's a pretty slim chance. I know Paul has had some good discussions with the applicant and continues to. So that's where I'm on the fence. This still has to be done. If we can access the grant money within the time frame and meet all the criteria, it'd be a wonderful option for the town instead of returning this. But please vote on it as if that grant was not here.
But still, what's the time frame at which point the grant no longer matters because it's gone?
Paul will have this number.
June 2026,
I
yes?
believe that's accurate. I didn't want to say it yet. There we go.
Okay.
Small window. If we get a letter of commitment, they will offer an extension, and that's kind of what the focus is and has been. So that's why I'm pushing this as a need to be done, but if you want to wait, I understand as well.
And the funding source otherwise?
This would be a
is
borrowing.
Borrowing. Paul?
At what point does a borrowing require a debt exclusion? When you're looking at $3.5 million, would that be something that would require a debt exclusion vote versus not, or what triggers it?
So, through you, Chair, if we borrow it, we would have to be able to fit the bond payments into the rate structure, which on a 3.5 million borrowing would be approximately ballpark 300,000 a year divided by the ratepayers. So it would be up to the water commissioners if they wanted to increase the rate to pay for the increased annual bond payment. And if that wasn't feasible, then we would look at a debt exclusion.
And I'm assuming that's all ratepayers and not just Elm Street.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Zach?
So where is this, Frank, on the list of priorities? Put the building there on aside. Of all the things you got to worry about in town, water, sewer, where does this fall?
This and the other streets that we have that we do not have plans on are moving pretty high up in the list because of the push from EPA. This will be second to water quality and PFAS moving forward, not just this street, but all these unknown services. You're going to see them hand in hand, and as we get closer to the end where we're going to be held to either identify the services or replace them, we are possibly even looking at doing multiple streets, as we did, I believe, probably 10 years ago. We actually had one contractor come in, did pretty close to 7 miles of pipe work, and we actually got a pretty good deal. It was a multi-year project, so it may be something we are forced to look at in the near future.
And now back to the grant, is there, I know you said it's slim to none, but I guess a question for Paul more than anything is, without sewer there, I mean, the large-scale project, I would figure it'd be dead.
Paul DiGiuseppe, I'm the town planner. Well, we've been talking to the potential developer. She hasn't been able to give us any sense of what revised plans that she has. But the reality is, if you don't have sewer there, the proposal that she had over the last year or so was 150 units. It can't happen on septic. I don't know what that number is, the maximum, but that it won't be as much as what she's asking. Sewer, is something that really promotes growth when you're really limited when you're on septic system. We hope to know soon what that number is, but until we know that for certain, we can't, won't be able to identify it.
So if this developer all of a sudden came back and said, yeah, we want to move forward with the project, if you go back and do the sewer, which we've kicked around for years now, would that grant still be available to do that again, or is that gone?
At this point, we're just going forward with water.
Okay.
Anybody else? Paul?
Frank, kind of piggybacking off of that, if the site could be developed with 100 units on a large septic system, would that be a requirement enough to get the 3.5 towards this other project, or is it counting on a sewer part of the project still indirectly?
In conversations we had, we were able to modify the original proposal and the design. EPA was willing to work with us by removing the sewer portion of the project, providing that it still meets the criteria for creating housing and jobs. A smaller development definitely would do that there. Again, we don't really have any numbers to throw until we hear that. We don't want to just speculate.
No other questions? Do I hear a motion? Well, before we do that, so the motion has to be worded in such a way that says borrowing, but a grant is possible, or do we just nix the grant, or how do we word this?
I believe bond counsel in the past has advised to include all possible funding sources in the warrant article.
I think that's how it's written, Mr. Chair, so we just do it as written.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Brandon?
I'd like to make a motion to pass Article 10 as written in the amount of $3.5 million.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? No. Brandon?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
I too am a yes. So that is unanimous for those here.
3.5. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Fournier.
Very welcome. Thank you for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
Next up is Barrows Court drainage system improvements. This is a project, as we're all aware, due to the flooding at Barrows Court. So spoke with the highway superintendent, and we performed an evaluation of the site. And he is of the opinion, and I support him, that he can perform this repair, hopefully within the current budget structure for this fiscal year. However, in the off chance that he is unable to, we are requesting $50,000 to replace the entire line from the street to the discharge. What happened, we think, is a tree root grew in a portion of the pipe, and we can perform a surgical operation with a backhoe and excise that portion of the pipe, clean it out, or replace that short portion. I'm probably butchering this, and this is to avoid an estimate from Weston and Sampson, who wanted $300,000 to $400,000 just to evaluate what needs to be done. So our intended course of action is to try to do it within this year's budget. If not, do the $50,000 fix. And if you have any questions, Jared is here with the technical details.
Mr. Chair? I have two questions. One is, I think we talked about this the last not the last week, the week before, there was money approved at town meeting to study this. I don't remember what the amount was. Could that be used for this, towards this?
Good evening.
Potentially, I can consult our accountant while Jared talks.
Sure, I'm not exactly sure what account you're referring to, but there was a small portion for stormwater for our department to do some of the other repairs that were related to that year's flooding events. There was about half of it was already used, maybe a little more. Summer Street, there was an improvement to try to divert some of the water that was coming out of that watershed, which also affected Barrows Court. There were a few drainage areas around town. 44 South Worcester, in front of the golf course, there was a residence that was flooding out, and we put a portion of that money towards that, unless it's a different account that I'm not aware of.
I thought it was an article for, to do like some sort of study.
I'm not
Basic
sure.
study, but
Maybe
nothing like 300,000, but I thought there was a basic study
is it
amount
related
set
to
aside.
possibly conservation, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that ended up. My other question is, I know when this was first looked at last year, it was the opinion at that time was that just replacing the pipes, that wasn't the issue, that there was a bigger issue, and that's why the engineering study at that time was felt like we needed that. So what, I guess, has changed since then?
Yep. So just to kind of fill you in with the background, what happened over time. So initially, and still, we're not completely certain all the contributing factors, but obviously the first place to start with is to clear the outflow pipe and make sure it's in good as condition as possible. So you rule that out. Originally, we used our equipment, the water department's jetter, to flush out the pipe, and a camera that we had. Without a vac truck, it's hard to remove the thousands of gallons of water that's flooding into the pipe and in the pipe to get a clear picture of what's going on. So with our equipment, we couldn't really see exactly what was going on. Water was flowing. We assumed it was working good enough. Nothing too crazy had changed in at least the 12 years I've been here. Eventually, there was speculation that there's still a blockage in the pipe. We hired an outside contractor with better equipment, and they got a much better view of what was going on in that pipe. There was some roots that were found. It's a 24-inch diameter pipe, and there was some roots estimated to maybe be about, 2 or 3 inches in diameter. They had been there forever, I assume. So that's why I still believe there might be other contributing factors, but it makes sense to excavate that area, this 20-foot section that they couldn't get through with the equipment that they had, and we'll remove those roots, patch the pipe back. Hopefully, it solves the problem, 100% or possibly even 90%, enough to get it functioning. If we find something else while we're excavating, it makes sense to maybe have the smaller portion of the money just to move quickly, in the springtime. I can, most of the information.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Zach?
As I mentioned previous meetings, I believe we allocated $50,000 for engineering work on Barrows Court at the Springtown meeting. I would like to say before we vote on this, that money to be reallocated instead of doing new money to Jared's project.
I can't speak to how much is in the account. Our accountant is not able to connect at the moment.
What I thought.
We can certainly bring this back.
Yeah, I mean, that even she had, Paula has notes that
It was Article 9 from last fall's town meeting, $50,000 specifically for engineering study for Barrows Court flooding situation.
so I would like to see those funds reallocated, if we can put that on the town meeting instead of appropriating new funds.
Have you used any of that since you didn't even know it existed?
Well, again, I think I feel I'm not sure if you have the articles in front of you. I believe the only highway article was 20, if I remember correctly, for my portion. But I thought conservation or maybe a different department might have went for the 50. Because I haven't had any involvement with engineering. No, fair enough.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to it after it was approved at town meeting, but there was $50,000 for Barrows Court.
Yep.
So I would like to get the answer to that before we vote on this, Mr. Chairman.
Table.
I think we have James.
This is James. Yes, the conservation department did hire an engineer and they did some work. Some of those funds have been used. I don't know off the top of my head how much is left in the account, but some of the funds have been used already.
Could you hear him?
Yeah, can we allocate can we find that number, reallocate what's left before we throw another 50,000 at it?
James, can you get that for our
Yes,
next
give me a few
meeting?
seconds. I'm gonna try to connect to the computer and see if I can get the number.
Okay.
We table it till next week then.
Yeah, do we want to table it to next week?
Is the project ongoing? Do you know, James? Conservation's not here at the meeting.
I am not aware if they finished the engineering study yet or not.
And you're not aware of, Jared, of what conservation might have been doing on the Barrow Street project?
The only thing I can imagine is there was, they approached Weston Sampson to try to come up with an assessment of what had happened, and I don't know if it was conclusive. I don't know how much it cost. There's multiple departments working on this project, at least to assess what was going on at the time.
Weston and Sampson doesn't answer the phone for $50,000.
Can we, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can we also get an update from the conservation agent as to what they've done already on this? Not just how much they've spent, we can get that from James, but in terms of what work has been done?
It almost sounds like Jared, the left hand and the right hand, aren't talking on this project.
It does happen, I guess.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
motion to table to the next meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table this until next Monday. Any further discussion? Brandon,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Kevin. Yes. Is Steve on? I'm a yes. Approaching.
No other panelists.
Okay.
We can certainly come back with the report on the status of the engineering, as well as if that's finished, we'll bring back new warrant language to transfer the appropriation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Paul?
just checking to see if Jared needs to or will be available to come back next Monday. Case.
Okay.
Nice guy.
So now we're to the fun part.
And now it's the school building project. Superintendent O'Neill can take my seat of honor or seat of torture, however you want to refer to it.
I don't mind standing here.
Sure.
It's whatever.
Let me share
Do you mind
screen.
just forwarding the slides? I don't want to kick you out of your seat.
No, it's all good.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Oh, Christine. Would you mind handing those out? Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Christine is handing out a copy of the slides that I'm going to share with you tonight to the committee. That way you have them and you can take them home and reach out if there are any questions. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Christine. Good evening. I'm Jennifer O'Neill. I'm the superintendent of Norton Public Schools. Tonight I am here to talk to you about the Norton Middle School roof. If you wouldn't mind just going to the next slide, please. So many of us have heard the woes of the Norton Middle School roof over the years, but I thought it would be important for us to walk through a little bit of a timeline, so that way those of you who are not as familiar with the project and the challenges that we've had, we lovingly have referred to it this morning as the money pit, but it's important for, I think, everyone to really understand the background that goes along with the middle school roof. So August of 98, the warranty began on the rubber portions of the roof. It was a 15-year warranty. So it went into play just before the school opened. They opened for the very first day on September 9th of 1998. And by the fall of 1998, we have documentation showing that since its occupancy, there have been reports of water leakage throughout the building, particularly during heavy periods of rain. By January of 1999, Westcott Construction, who was the general contractor on this project, began steps to immediately stop the leaking, which involved caulking specific areas of concern, specifically in the rotunda, which is the round portion at the front entrance, the auditorium, and the school office where the administrative offices are. On January 22nd of 1999, Westcott Construction ordered an investigation to be completed by Simpson, Gumpertz, and Heeger. And what was found in the winter of 1999 is that the through-wall flashing and the waterproofing system were improperly installed, and there was ineffective backup. So we have not even been open for 6 months at this point, and these are the findings of those initial reports. By April of 99, they began the repair work on some of these initial issues. There was a meeting at the middle school to discuss the start of that corrective work. And in attendance, we had representatives from Norton Public Schools. There was a clerk of the works that was hired by the town of Norton at that time, similar to an OPM that we would hire today, but really employed by us as a community, and then Westcott Construction. In July of 99, we have our first communication from Firestone Building Products that the warranty would not be fully executed on the roof until the remaining payments had been made. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, when you have a big project like this, we always hold on to a little bit of a retainer in order to ensure that the project gets completed, and that all of those items on the punch list are taken care of before the construction company walks away. This is what happened in this particular situation as well, and what it ultimately became one of those situations where everyone's kind of pointing at each other. And so Firestone at that time said, that's fine, but we're not going to uphold our end of the warranty until we get that remaining money. If you wouldn't mind just moving, thank you. In December of 99, so we've just been open for just about a year at this point, a little over a year, we had a follow-up to an initial investigation. And in this portion of the investigation, they took a look at who held the responsibility for the improper or ineffective installation during that initial construction. And as you can see, there was issues on the part of the masonry contractor. There was issues on the part of the roofing contractor, the drywall contractor, the window and glass contractor. Everyone, it seemed to have, for lack of better words, cut corners in some places during the construction of this building. And what they also found is that there was a big disconnect in communication from the architect to the general contractor, and from the general contractor to the subcontractors. And there was very little follow through in terms of the subcontractor going back and asking for clarity if a drawing did not necessarily match up with the schematic planned. And then September of 2001, we have another memo noting that there were still items that needed work. So we're about 3 years into the project at this time. Not all repairs had been done. Certain things that still needed to be repaired as of September of '01 included replacement of copper flashing, sealant in some of the control joints, and then also modification of the steel plates around some of the brickwork. February of '03, the roofing company sues the general contractor for outstanding payments that go along with the Norton Middle School roof. In April of '03, the court settled in favor of the roofer, and we as a community paid out $60,000 as a settlement to the roofing company. Spring of '06, we actually were finally able to repair some of that flashing work that had still been not done properly since 1998. That was done by Atlas Roofing. I apologize. 2006 is like a weird time. I was thinking 2026, so that actually should be fall of 2006 at the very bottom. This is when we have a communication from Firestone that is, they're responsible for all of the rubber roofing that is on the flat portions of the roof of the middle school, and basically saying that they're only liable for work that was done and the material that was installed, either due to a fault of the material or because of the workmanship that was used to install them. Anything over and above that is not their responsibility and is not under the scope of that warranty. They also communicated at that time that any other contractors that were not approved by Firestone, they were not responsible for any of their work or any damage that may have occurred to the roof itself with these contractors being up on the rubber roof. For anyone that is familiar with rubber roofing, it is extremely, you would think it is pretty hardy, but the more you walk on it and the more people are up there moving things around, using equipment, using tools, it really wears the roofing down. And that's part of the issue that we're seeing now, is that over the years, there have been so much work done up there that there are places where it's very, very thin, and that's where we're having some issues with the leaks. Next slide, please. In '06, the superintendent at that time, Dr. Ansay, hired a consultant to give a recommendation on what the next best steps for us would be. That's 8 years into the opening of this building. The consultant noted the status of the repairs, things that had been done, things that weren't, and recommended putting forward a warrant to the town for design services. So schematic design to take a look at actually repairing these. We did the town of Norton, or Norton Public Schools, did a design bid for flashing and roof repairs in winter of '07. And from May to August of 2007, we spent about $540,000 as a community to repair the flashing and roof as part of I believe it was a town meeting article, and it was done in that way. Whether it was through capital or borrowing, I don't have that information. Marshall Roof in '08 said that, please stop calling us. The number's out of order. We're not coming back out. So they basically said, you need to contract the manufacturer, and we were given permission instead to work with another roofing company. And then in 2017, we patched the metal portion of the cafeteria roof, which has been working for a short amount of time. And now, just around now, those leaks are starting to ramp up again. I think the other thing that's important for everyone to note, that while the Firestone warranty was in play, Norton Public Schools filed multiple claims with them each and every year of that warranty for repairs that were covered under warranty. Some years it might have been 2 or 3. Other years it was upward of 8 to 10 repairs. So we definitely did, take advantage of that warranty while it was available. The other important thing for us to consider is that we know that this timeline is not fully comprehensive. We know that there was work done. For example, there were snow pins installed on the metal roof roughly between '07 and '08. We cannot find any documentation on our end to support that work. But we know what happened. We know that that was what voided the warranty on the metal portions of the roof. And so the challenge whenever you're looking back at a project that spans nearly 30 years is you have, I think I'm the fourth or fifth superintendent. Wade is definitely at least the second or third director of facilities that has gone through this project. And we have a lot of information on the work that we've done. But ironically, we found a few boxes labeled Norton Middle School roof in the closet, and they were only slightly water damaged. So we did spend a lot of time going through that work and trying to piece the story together for you. So hopefully that gives you all a little bit of context around what this, what the challenges have been and how really we have been fighting against these roof issues since the very beginning. Next slide, please. Thank you. I can just keep walking. Since you have it in front of you, is that okay?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, and I'm happy to post this on our website if we're having issues. So this is the current status of the Norton Middle School roof. The first page I have for you here shows you all interior photos. As you can see, the top left, this is in a classroom earlier this morning. We have a large industrial size barrel. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit of a hose hanging out of that ceiling. This is on the third floor. This is the picture directly to the right, shows another small barrel with a open ceiling panel. Those are active leaks. We had a ton of rain at the end of last week, as I'm sure you all recall. And you can see there are students in that classroom learning today. And it's, kids are resilient, teachers too, they're working around it, but it is definitely not an ideal learning space for our staff or for our students. Over to the right on the top, that is a huge stain at the top of our bus entrance door that is on the third floor. And if you are walking into the entryway where our students come in off the buses every single day, if you look straight up, the foyer goes all the way to the third floor. It's an open foyer, and you can see that gigantic stain right there. Bottom left, over above the window, this is in our front office. You can see the staining in the leaks there. And then on the right, this is in one of our classrooms, and this is the front entrance. You can see how the drywall itself is really just peeling away. On the next slide, we have a few more photos from the interior of Norton Middle School. Far left is our rotunda, and you can see that this is one aspect of the metal roof. So you can see all the paint chipping away. There are large portions of rust in that area as well. And it's not uncommon for us to have leaks in that area. Bottom left, that is the windowsill at the bus entrance, right below that gigantic stain. This is an area where these windows are actually, if you look at the top right as well, same area. You can actually see that drywall tape kind of peeling off where those connections were. Huge stains, and it's rotting away the interior of the building in these spaces as well. And then the final picture here on the bottom right is from our cafeteria. And again, you can see it's the metal roof. And if you look closely, you can see the rust in the paint that's peeling away in this image as well. On the next slide, I was fortunate to be able to borrow these photos here from our OPM and designer from the presentation they gave to us earlier this week. You can see top left is the EPDM roof, which is the rubber roof. You can see, number one, you can see some actual water out there. You can see all of the aging and deterioration, specifically around the rotunda. The rotunda, since day one, has had significant issues when it comes to drainage and the flashing itself. You can see on the top right that is actually open ceiling. It's a hole. And then you can also see the sealant and step wall flashing. That's really just peeling away, and also the metal roof panels itself, just stripping away. On the next slide, I'm going to share with you the moisture survey that was done by Ty and Bond, who have been tasked with completing the schematic design. So this is our building. What they do is they send up a drone, and they do use thermal imaging to identify wherever there is entrapped moisture in the roofing system. So anything that you see up there that is red indicates that they are roof areas with wet insulation. And quite honestly, it doesn't look that bad when you look at it, right? You're thinking, oh my gosh, we've been talking about the fact that, this roof is in big trouble for so many years. If you take a look at where the far left of the photo, that's where the remaining solar panels are. Take a look at the remainder of that roof and how much of that is in the red. Around the rotunda, almost all of that is completely saturated. And then also over the library, and then especially, these are the areas where we're having these issues. Top right, you can see that larger square with a small square next to it. Those are directly above the classrooms where we're seeing, where I showed you that picture of the students, they were working and they have the barrels next to them. That is directly above where those classrooms are. So these are some challenges. And so if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. I'm going to share the recommended solutions with you from our OPM and from the schematic design. So what they are recommending for us at this time is a restoration of the EPDM roofing. So that would basically include an inspection of the existing roofing systems, repair and closure of all the open conditions, removal and replacement of the roof system, including insulation and or plywood, depending on how wet it really is. And then they would retain or keep the existing EPDM in dry areas. So, of course, Wade and Christine and I had a ton of questions about this when they came out, because I'll say what we're all saying, what we're all thinking. The price tag here is very, very high. And so we're talking about not even a full roof replacement. We are talking about a restoration of the rubber roofing itself. And so what it is it's actually more of a fluid-based system, and they pour it out over the roof itself. So there's a base coat, there's the polyester coat, and then there's the top coat, and it goes right over the existing system. So where it's more of a liquid, it is able to get into some of those hard to reach spaces where in the past was definitely one of the challenges that we had with the roof when it was done originally. I have a picture that I'm going to share with you at the end. There are actually 29 different sections of roof at Norton Middle School. And when you're driving up, it looks absolutely beautiful. But there are a lot of different heights of roof. There are a lot of different shapes of the roof. We have metal roof. We have the rubber roof. We have circular shapes. And things just, it's almost over-designed in a way. And again, it's beautiful, but it wasn't practical when it was built. You think about LGN, it has 3 wings on one side and 1 wing on the other. It's about as basic as you can get, versus the middle school that it's very complicated. And then, so while they're recommending that we restore the EPDM, they are recommending full replacement of the metal roof system. There is no way to remediate the metal roof itself. So basically they would have to take all of the current metal roofing down, and they would dispose of it. They would replace any deteriorated decking that is underneath the system itself right now. And then they would install a whole new metal roofing system, which would include the board itself, the air vapor barrier, the insulation, the underlayment, and then finally the metal roof panels. And they would even put the snow retention system on it, so we wouldn't have to send someone up there to do it ourselves 10 years later. So it's a bonus, right? No? If next slide, please. So, that's right, I'll keep going. So ultimately, it's much more cost effective to go this restoration route. It actually provides more thickness than just the typical EPDM membrane. It has a 20-year warranty, so they guarantee that this will stay as is, even with the restoration, for a minimum of 20 years. Now, I know that, you know, when you get your own roof, if you replace your own roof at home, you get CertainTeed or whatever other shingles you purchase. It usually says 25 to 30 years on those roofing shingles. Most people aren't replacing their roof after 25 to 30 years. We can get a little bit more. So that's why they say a minimum of 20 years. Definitely less time to be able to go through and to do the restoration. And it, you know, it also helps with energy efficiency. Thinking back to the slide I shared with you where they did the moisture survey with all the red. So that basically, it says 9.4% of our roof is considered really wet that needs to be replaced. They won't consider restoration unless it's under 25%. So we're definitely under the 25% with 9.4. And then on the next slide, I have a few samples of projects here for you. So they have done the fluid applied restoration at an elementary school in Chelsea, and two elementary schools in Chelsea, an elementary school in Newbury, and then the Dover Sherburne Middle School in Dover. There's also a few examples there of municipal buildings in Massachusetts, and then also a few examples of private buildings in Massachusetts. Now, the restoration itself is new to the MSBA process. Restoration is not new in general. Companies and private facilities have been able to do this for a long time. However, MSBA is only now including it as an option with the projects that they're funding. And then I also just shared with you the advantages of the metal roof replacement itself. It shows samples of exactly what this will look like in terms of the double lock seam metal roof panel and what the snow retention assembly will look like. Again, this is a 25-year warranty at the very least. On the next slide, this is what we all want to talk about, right? The finances. That's why we're here in front of Finance Committee. I'm sure you've heard a couple different numbers be tossed around. And I definitely had a lot of questions about the different types of numbers that we've talked about. So on the bottom of this page, it says roof replacement cost data, and it looks like this. Metal roof replacement and the EPDM roof restoration. The estimated schematic design construction cost is $8.6 million. So it's important for us to remember that that's construction cost only. That is not the OPM costs. That does not include the designer. That does not include any advertising that they need to do for the bid process. Anything along any testing that needs to be done. That is construction costs only. If we were to do this and do a full replacement, we would be up to $10.7 million with construction costs only. The other thing I want to mention to all of you is on the top of this page. One of the things that our schematic design company, Ty & Bond, shared with us were a few projects that they've done and what those have looked like in terms of the bid costs themselves. It's important for us to remember that during COVID, MSBA actually shut down their accelerated repair program. So when you're looking for comparables, it's very difficult for us to find one because there's nothing that has been done recently. We are in that first class of new projects since post-COVID. So the projects I have here for you today are from 2020 and 2021. We have the Herbert Clark Hoover Elementary School. The estimated schematic design was 1.8. The bid cost came in at 1.2. Only 17,000 square feet, where we're looking at 98,000 square feet. Loker Elementary School in Wayland, 2020, 44,000 square feet, so just under half of what we're looking at. Their estimated schematic design construction cost only was $3 million, and the bid cost was 1.9. And then the Wareham Middle School, this is actually interesting because they did this in 2 different design phases. They ended up having to split it up. The 92,000 square feet, so definitely closer to what we're looking at. 7.5 million was the estimated construction cost, and the total bid was 3.9 million. Big difference there. Finally, on the last page, this is really what it looks like when we're talking about other costs as well. So at the very bottom of the page, you're going to see the total project budget. That is the total project cost with all those other things built in, the OPM, the design, the advertising, any testing that needs to be done, as well as contingencies. For those of us who are familiar with building projects, we know contingencies are a must. Every project, you never know what you're going to uncover, and that's why it's really important for the contingencies to be built in there. So as you can see, there are definitely contingencies built in. The other item you'll notice too is that the estimated maximum total facilities grant at the very bottom of that top grid, that is the most that MSBA will reimburse us. We have a 55.63 reimbursement rate from the MSBA. And the number in red right below it, 4.206809, that is the most money that Norton will pay for this project. And that is if the bids come in at this $8.6 million. However, we haven't gone out to bid yet. We don't have the final schematic design process done. It's an estimated total. Our OPM and our designer do believe that those bids will come in lower. But until we go through that process and we know, it's really hard for us to predict. So it's always better for us to be higher. And then that way we have locked in MSBA at that maximum total facilities grant of $5.2 million. I did want to share with you this picture on the left. This is one of our staff members' daughters. She's adorable. She's out back playing soccer on our soccer field. And her mom posted it on Facebook one day. And I was like, oh, she's so cute. And then my eye immediately went to the middle school. And this is a great way for you to kind of look and see all the different levels of roof. So when you look behind this little nugget here, you can see the back of the tall side of the building where we have the 3 floors of the wings. You can see the curtain wall where the library is and all those windows. You almost see like stacks of brick roofing behind that. And then you can see there are probably just in this view itself 8 to 10 different levels of roofing just that you can see in this particular shot. So I thought that was really important to share with you as well, because I think that's one of the challenges about this project is the cost, because they can't come out and simply lay down one full swoop of roofing. They're going to have to be out there and do those 20 plus sections each on their own. So of course, the labor and the materials make it much more challenging. But I'm here to answer any questions that you have this evening. So please,
Thank you for the presentation.
thank you for having me.
It's kind of depressing seeing all this, but restoration. How long has that been a thing? And do we have any idea of its success rate? 80%, 90%? Because the worst case scenario is we do it, and then in 2 years we're, oh boy, something didn't work.
Well, Bill, I have to be honest, like, I'm right there with you. Like, I think that, me taking you all through that timeline was not just to show you that it's been a problem from the beginning, but like, we are always so quick to throw a quick fix at something that I want to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to have some staying power here. So my understanding, and again, educator, not a roof expert, but my understanding from conversations with our OPM and with the design firm is that the roof restoration component has been happening in municipalities and private sector and in building in general for almost 30 years. And the newness for us is that MSBA has only now started allowing it as part of their approval process for projects. And so what I would imagine is that MSBA has looked at the research and they've said, okay, this is a fair bet. I put a phone call in earlier today to my colleague in Cohasset, who did the restoration with the pour about 4 years ago. And so I'm unfortunately still waiting for her to call me back. But they are actually going to be doing the restoration on a second building now. And they're in the MSBA tunnel for that at this moment. So it's my hope that when I talk to her tomorrow, she's going to say, yes, it worked. It was a good opportunity. And that's why we're doing the second building with the same approach. I think the concern that I have, and I've been very candid with my team and with the school committee, is I want to make sure we're doing things the right way. And I want to make sure that when the company comes out to do it, whoever that may be, the restoration component is done with an extreme amount of detail so that we're making sure that we're hitting all of those red spots that you saw, and cutting out all of the components that need to be done. I asked this question earlier this week, or last week, I guess, because today's Monday. What type of supervision do we have for this project? Because I'm not going to be up on the roof and knowing what's happening. Wade knows, but he's also doing everything else we need him to do. So the OPM has a full-time site representative that is at the building all day, every day. Whenever there's a contractor there, they are there supervising all of the work. And then the architect comes out at least weekly to review any work that has been done and make sure that it matches up with the drawings. And then additionally, the manufacturing company, because of course they want their product to not be installed improperly, and that makes sure that it's working, because they'll be on the hook for a warranty for us as well. They come out at least bi-weekly, and more as needed, and that was my question as well. But I think it's important for whoever that site supervisor is to have a real understanding of roofing itself, and to make sure that they're able to put it together for us in the right way. I think regardless if it's restoration or replacement, my biggest worry is when you start peeling things up, like, you get that really stinky onion and you just kind of keep pulling away at the layers. I'm worried what we're going to find under there after 28 years.
Which almost, kind of leads me to my next question of why repair. shouldn't be so cavalier here. It appears to be 2 million between repair and total replacements. So besides the 2 million, is there a good reason?
That's 2 million.
It's just 2 million. But is there a good reason why we wouldn't just say replace it? 100% full warranty, and you don't get the, oh, well, we didn't catch that, so that's not covered.
Right. So the warranty will be about the same, whether it's replacement or restoration. The amount of time that you're going to have on the new rubber roofing will be at least 20 years. The metal roofing will be replaced regardless. So that is one thing that we are not messing around with. That will be replaced regardless. What happens when you are going to kind of take the whole aspect of replacement? Number one, it's obviously a lot more time. It's a lot more labor. The issues that we're going to see is that the brick that's alongside of the roof is at a certain level, and and again, I'm not going to know the numbers off the top of my head, so maybe Wade does. It may be 4 inches high right now. When you take that whole roof out and you're going to replace it, you now need to increase the ledges all the way around to meet today's code instead of what was appropriated in 1998. All of those things are going to have to be redone. That's where the cost in the $2.1 million difference, that's where the cost comes in. And so it's not necessarily the roof product itself, it's everything that needs to go along with the full replacement of the roof. If you go back to the slide that I shared with you that shows you the moisture survey, and it shows that 9.4% or 7,100 square feet of the EPDM is saturated down to the insulation point. So anything there, all of those areas are going to have to be cut out. The plywood will have to be replaced, the insulation will have to be replaced, and anything, water barrier, anything else that's coming up to the roof itself, all of those areas will be hit. And you just don't have to do that on any of those other areas. They talk about, they won't consider restoration if it's more than 25%, and we're just under 10. So we've got a good little window, and that's why they are, the experts are recommending the restoration over the replacement.
And I guess my last question at the moment, if this were to be approved, tomorrow, how much disruption to the people in the building, or is this like a summer project? Let's try to.
So ideally, if this was to be approved at fall town meeting, what would happen is we would go out to bid and we would go through that process and we would start construction as soon as school gets out in June, with the hope that we would be buttoning things up by the end of August. And that if we are still in some construction, the majority of the work would have been done in terms of the, cutting and laying and pouring, and you would just be doing finish up things. It's a big roof. However, it is looking like they could do it in that amount of time. If it's not approved this fall, we would be looking at summer of 27.
So a year of bigger leaks.
Correct.
Paul? Dr. O'Neill, some random thoughts, a few questions.
Absolutely.
Back in 98, we did have oversight as well, and that didn't really help us out very much when it was all said and done. Just a random thought. One of the big mistakes back in 1998, arguably, was to not do a debt exclusion for a building of that size and everything, so I'm not sure what the plans are for the almost $5 million.
you're putting new product over EPDM that has a 25-year shelf life, so even though it may not be actively leaking, it has been exposed to the New England harsh weather and sun and everything for 25 years. I just wonder, putting product over something that's that old is prudent. And again, on a roof either, that's why it's a random thought. In the future, like the library has 11 gables, that's a roofing nightmare. This building, by its design, was a roofing nightmare from day one. If we ever do get a new school, let's put a box up and have the inside really nice for the kids, but let's just put a box up and not let the architects talk us into an absolute nightmare.
I couldn't agree more.
Windows, we were up there spraying with fire hoses and stuff with the, we used to think of Lincoln Rotunda there, that he was going to be played out in state there. That's what we thought it was built for. The windows would leak. One of the pictures you showed us shows leaking, looks like below a window. So we do all this roof work and find out that the windows are an issue. So we're going to be looking at another multi-million-dollar window project down the road like some of the other schools have had. I'm under the impression that brickwork is supposed to be sealed periodically, period, not just the bottom 4 inches, but brickwork in general with the grout. So you're going to have water penetrations there. So we do all of this. You still got the potential of leaks elsewhere, mold and mildew, which is a death. So a lot of random comments there, and you can comment on some of them if you'd like. But the bottom line is, I personally think we need a debt exclusion for this, and I don't think that's in the game plan. And I'm not.
I think, well, there was a lot there.
Yes.
So what I would say is, yes, unfortunately, we are now living with issues that none of us had control over at that time. So there definitely is components of repointing with the brickwork. There are things that get done through our regular facilities budget on an annual basis based on where the need is. At the middle school, until you get the roof fixed itself, you're just putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And so what we really need to do is fix the primary issue. There absolutely will be other issues. And if you were to go through those boxes of documents that we have on the middle school construction itself, the subsequent lawsuit, the subsequent, remediation that tried to take place, there were so many issues with that build itself. I think the roof is definitely the biggest one, and it has been since day one, and we'll have to kind of take the rest as it comes. Unless on Elm Street they want to build a new middle school on the Reed and Barton site, maybe we could do like a multi-use deal.
If we did a box, it might be cheaper.
There you go.
Stilts.
Mr. Chairman,
Zach?
where do I start? You need a roof. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. I would probably be in more favor of a complete replacement than a restoration. Sounds to me, I'm no expert in roofing, but it sounds to me like just another big Band-Aid that we've seen for the last 28 years. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. How we're going to finance this thing. And let me frame this for you a little bit. You've sat here with the budgets of the last couple of years. You have teachers working without a contract. I'm sure they're not looking for a pay cut. The town manager is going to negotiate with every union in town this year. I'm sure they're not looking for a pay cut. And we're not talking about taking approximately $400,000 a year out of the operating budget. So, to piggyback on what the chief said over there is, you have two ways of funding this. One is by layoffs, and one is by debt exclusion, and those are the only options. The town doesn't have $400,000 a year, as you well know. We gave you stabilization money just so you could tread water and nothing more. So, to be honest with you, I did watch the school committee meetings the last couple, and I was disappointed, and I'm being kind at the school committee for, just approve it. Great, we need a roof. Without the implications of what is going to happen to do that. That is going to be on the backs of layoffs. Just so everybody, We should make that crystal clear to the public. The town does not have this type of money. So, for me, I would have to agree with Paul and say, you know what? You got a fall town meeting coming up. Approve it pending debt exclusion. You have a spring election. It's going to cost nothing to put it on there. If it fails, it fails. We have a different discussion. But to do that, we did this with the window project, and that was a disaster. It's bleeding out our budget. We did it with the train project, and we all know we got run over by the train. And now we want to do it again, which is a terrible precedence to keep borrowing money out of the operating budget when we can barely pay our bills as it stands. And, you know, I'm very disappointed with the school committee after watching those meetings, and nobody, I mean, totally tone deaf, and I'm being polite.
I don't want to speak for the school committee because
I didn't ask you to.
they all
Take it as a
have
comment.
their own forum to do that. I think that the windows and doors, and the train project are, you know, Christine and I are living with the train project, whether we wanted to or not.
The town is living with the
and
train
so and it's a big factor for us. And so what I would say is, you know, you here tonight are the finance committee, and so I'm sharing with you the need that we have. As you said, we need a new roof. You know,
Questioning that.
having our students learning in a space where you have a giant bucket that's actively dripping water is not conducive to learning. It's not what any of us want for our students. And what I would say in terms of the options, I think you're absolutely right, Zach, and you know, Mr. Schleicher, to you as well. And so if the finance committee believes that a debt exclusion is the way to go, then we will work with you in order to do that. I would imagine, and that maybe this is a good question for Christine, if we have to wait until the spring for the vote, I would imagine that this won't happen until 27, and only because we need the time to go out. You need to go through the bid process. You have to award the bid, which probably, if we were voting in April, wouldn't happen until. Thoughts? Okay, thanks.
You may want to.
Microphone.
Come on, friend.
So we have to prove to MSBA that we have funding available, 90 days of submission of the project. So that was August 28th, I believe. So we couldn't do a pending, they wouldn't approve a pending a debt exclusion in the spring. If we did decide to do the debt exclusion, or we all decide to do the debt exclusion in the spring, we would have to then ask MSBA for an extension of the 90 days, and then we would have to get approved. Not something that they favor, so we are not even guaranteed that they would do that. If not, we have to start the whole process all over in FY27, because that would be the next opening for an accelerated project. But if they did approve the extension, and we did get it on the ballot for the spring, then yes, it would be the following 27 summer.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so there's a possibility that the 55.63 reimbursement from MSBA would go away.
Or potentially the percentage could change if we had to go back out and start the process again.
Mr. Chair,
Paul?
one of my concerns that the building has had 27 years worth of leaks and water getting where it shouldn't go. And really, I almost mirrored Zach and Bill regarding the total replacement, only to get in and see what's actually going on, because I have a feeling there's a lot of mold and mildew where there shouldn't be mold and mildew, which is very unhealthy for a lot of kids as they're getting more sensitive with that. So I'm not sure if just spreading a sealant over the top of the old EDPM is going to take care of potentially issues where you might have to open it back up down the road and stuff. So,
And I would even say, Chief, that I don't even know that a full replacement would show you all the issues that we have, because they're now down in between the walls and every.
right, but it would
I
at
mean, we
least
don't wanna
show you what's
scare
up in the
people,
ceilings,
right?
at least, you know?
But, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, company wants to make more money, right? They're given the same warranty. They're saying they're recommending a full restoration. So you got to take that with a grain of salt as well.
Mr. Chair, just a question. We're talking about a debt exclusion in the spring, and I appreciate that that would obviously save us money because it would be part of the regular election. What about the possibility of a debt exclusion election prior to the spring?
I was gonna whisper that into Mark's ear.
I mean, there's a timeline. I know it's not. It couldn't happen next month, but would that help with the timeline for MSBA? Like, what's the deadline, I guess, for that to happen?
So I think maybe Christine and I need to clarify because I thought it was once they brought it to the board in October, the end of the October meeting. Okay, so not August. All right, cool. All right, so 90 days from I think October 28th is that 20th? 28th? Okay, cool. So end of January?
The downfall of that is there's a lot of education in a shorter period. But
And it would need a positive vote at the town meeting before it, because it needs both, correct, for the debt exclusion?
correct.
So we'd have to get a favorable vote in October and then fast forward it to
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm not saying I disagree, but if history means anything, there's no way a debt exclusion is getting approved. So I get what everyone's saying, but let's be realistic.
So the debt exclusions have been historically approved. It's overrides in general for the general fund that are absolutely go down in flames.
Correct.
Correct, Bill,
They-
Mr. Chair?
we tend to be a little more
Things good.
favorable with a direct need versus a, hey, we need money overall.
One goes away and one's there forever on the tax base.
So,
Noted.
Mr. Chairman,
Zach?
and just to piggyback on what Brandon I just said, and if it fails, it fails. And this way, next spring, when we're sitting here and we're saying we're eliminating this program, or we're cutting this position, or we're doing this, you got to have a roof. I mean, the roof is leaking, you got to replace it. Then nobody should be surprised, and it should be a shock to nobody. And these are the options. If the town picks that option, then they live with the consequences, just like every other time.
Yeah. I kind of like the Elm Street idea, though. Yes. Yep.
All right, so didn't really come here tonight to speak about the roof, but I figured I'd take some notes, and I looked through the bid packet. It was like the roof consultant's package here. So a couple things. I'm not sure if all of you know, but I've owned a roofing company for the last 25 years. Back in 2017, I was called in, 2018, whatever it was, I was called in to look at this middle school roof. I did a full evaluation on this roof, found a lot of screw pops, a lot of masonry issues, a lot of window issues. At the time, the former superintendent, I met up, I forget with the janitor, whoever I was meeting over there. We walked the entire roof. At the time, I gave him a ballpark estimate of $1.6 million for a full replacement. A couple, maybe 6 months later, we had an override. The town then requested $3.2 million. This turned into a huge crap show on Facebook because I made it a point that I had already given you guys a rough ballpark estimate of $1.6 million. The town was then doubling the ask on this roof. So I'm very familiar with this roof. One thing I'd like to say is this is the first time I'm hearing about a top coat. You guys recommend a top coat. All you're doing is trapping water, just like Paul said. You're trapping water. The roof is soaking wet. The insulation's wet. There's no way that dries out. It does not dry out with the warm days. Once it's wet, it's wet. You go and throw an aluminum coat or you throw a top coat on, all you're doing is trapping water. You're just going to create mold and a future problem. They give you a 25-year warranty. That's crap. I'm on these roofs all the time. They have a top coat. With the cold, the winters we get and the heat and the expansion and contraction, those things dry out, they crack out. We end up ripping them up after, a few years. It's a complete scam. These guys spraying down a top coat and they walk away. It's a complete scam. I don't think the town should consider that at all. A couple of mistakes here. I think it was Atlas Roofing. Was it Atlas Roofing that did this roof originally? Who was the original installer? Marshall. So now Firestone is a great product, probably the top membrane. So as far as like getting a Firestone warranty, getting a 20 or 25 year Firestone warranty, that's top of the line. So I wouldn't put any of this on Firestone. If you're looking at quotes, Firestone, Manville, Carlisle, 3 top manufacturers, they're the best manufacturers you can get, a warranty from. A couple of the things that Ms. O'Neill said that concerned me, I understand she's got a job to do. She's trying to get the money for this roof, but, some of the things, CertainTeed having a 25-year warranty doesn't exist. They don't make a 25-year shingle. So, walking,
I think that was.
I understand that, but if you're going to speak to the roofing, you should at least know what you're talking about. Walking on a membrane roof damages the roof. Another falsehood. Does not damage the roof. You should get at least 30 years out of the roof. You could put a TPO.
We haven't gotten 30 years out of
I
this
understand,
roof.
because it was a crappy install. It was terrible workmanship. It wasn't the actual rubber that failed. It was the install that failed. The biggest issue you guys had up there was screw pops. The screws are popping through. There's hundreds of them. I saw it for myself. A lot of the flashing wasn't done right. The wall flashings weren't terminated properly. So it wasn't the manufacturer. That rubber should last you 30 years at least. You could go with a TPO roof and get 50 years out of it. Won't need to replace it, until we're all gone. Sonafel, again, 50-year warranty, for a little bit more money. So let's see, the metal roofs, my recommendation a few years ago was to just rip them off and shingle them. You got sloped roofs there. Why not shingle it? Just like the high school. High school's got shingle. It's a sloped roof. Looking at this estimated budget here, right? You got a couple of things that are concerning here. You got standard seam metal roof, $1.235 million. That's 200 squares of shingle roof up there. 200 squares of sloped roof on that with the rotunda. $1.235 million to go back with a metal roof. You could shingle that for, maybe a quarter of that, maybe less. Some of the other projected estimates here. Supervisor for 13 grand. You fire that guy. Don't need him. You got another thing. Oh, another thing I thought was interesting. The manufacturer comes out bi-weekly. Not true. I've been roofing 25 years. I've done hundreds of these projects. We've done schools. We've done, shopping plazas. We've done grocery stores. We see that guy once. Whether it's John Manville, whether it's Carlisle, whether it's Firestone, that inspector comes out one time when the job's done. The only time he comes out a second time is if you have fails. So he comes out, he circles the areas that are defective, we screwed up. Say we screw up a corner flash, and he'll circle it, put it in his report, fix that, or you don't get your 20-year warranty. Then he comes back out to re-inspect. You never see the manufacturer's inspector come out bi-weekly. Those guys, it takes 3 months for us to get them to show up the first time. There's like 3 of them in the whole state. So that's another falsehood. Let's see. There was a couple other interesting things here I saw on the estimate. $230,000 for asbestos containment. So what's this building, 25 years old? So where's the asbestos? I just did a job in Stoughton on a fire job, and we did an asbestos containment on the entire condo that burned down, and it cost us like $26,000 for the asbestos company, and then the demo company. So there's $230,000 allowed for asbestos. I'm just curious. I've done a test cut on that roof. It's just polyiso. There's no asbestos on that. There's no gravel roof. There's no, torch down. There's nothing. There's no asbestos on that roof. So what's that expense for?
So may I ask, because I don't know if this committee wants us to go on, but if we're looking to do certain things on the roof, and I know you're part of, town things here, but if you're allowed to bid on it, then I would suggest making a bid.
I don't even care if I bid on it, to be honest with you. So I'm just trying to help you guys out and show you guys some of these expenses. We got $379,500 for pressure washing the roof. Pressure washing it. $379,000 is the estimated Asbestos testing, $230,000. Disposal, $61,000. We got the best dumpster guy in town as our select board, and I bet you we got maybe $15,000-$20,000 worth of dumpsters on that roof. There's no weight.
I can't go line to line.
I understand
that's what
that,
the
but
experts
when you guys
are
come
for.
up with an estimate of $10.7 million to replace 800 squares of rubber, I scratch my head, because, you know, the job's worth a third of that. The membrane on that roof is, you know, and the
Then if the school can find a bid that makes sense at what you're saying, I'm going to say,
no, I understand.
let's go
that.
for
I
it.
understand that, but a request for $10.7 million is insane. And when you guys are, you know, and when we're looking for $120,000 to help the veterans and the seniors, and then we got a $10.7 million, we got a $10.7 million request for a roof.
That's a total different
It's a totally different thing. I
It's a
understand that,
totally
but-
different thing, so don't try to
But if
blend them
I'm
together.
not. But if you're going to ask a roofing question, you should ask a roofing expert. You shouldn't be asking the superintendent. You should have brought the consultant in here who wrote this report, or you should be asking the local roofing experts. And I'm one of them. So I'd be open to any questions you guys have got about this roof.
How much would you do it for?
10 years ago, 1.6 million. I guess it would depend on the scope. I mean, I'm being told that, you know, I just got this, you know, ballpark today. I'm being told that they want to potentially build a brick parapet going around the school. I mean, I haven't confirmed that, but, you know, that's
What?
a brick parapet to build up the parapets. I was just looking through the plan because I just had time to peek through this, but, you know, if that is the case, that's another waste. I mean, we could go with a Garlock roof, rail system for pennies on the dollar, so it's, I mean, I'm open to answering any questions. I'd love to see that school get a roof. My daughter will be there in a couple of years, but, you know, but again, it's $10.7 million is a pretty strong ask for 800 squares of rubber. So,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ray, if I could just answer a couple of your questions. So in regards to the asbestos removal, obviously it was built in 1998. That's not going to be a component of it. But because it is an MSBA project, you have to conclude certain factors in it. So the asbestos removal, it has to be a line item. They have to say, if you ran into it, what would that entail? Same thing, you have to have one aspect of the roof itself that is solar ready. We will never put solar panels on that roof, ever. But we have to put in the quote what it would cost to make one area of that roof solar ready. So just because of that, the bid when it is done will be lower than what the initial asks are. And so I think that's important. I think those are great questions because I'm sure if you're asking them, other people are asking them as well. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Thank
And I'm
you.
definitely not a roof expert either. So, you know, I'm doing the best that I can to share this information. But my dad does own a hardware store and he has roofers there. And I haven't worked there since I was pregnant with my daughter. So it's been a long time since I sold roofing shingles. But so I apologize for misrepresenting.
Zach?
One other question, under the article here, Article 11, it's under the direction of the permanent building committee. Have we engaged the building committee?
We have invited the building committee. They came out to our meeting. Representative from the building committee came out last Wednesday when we did have our OPM and the design firm presenting to us. So Brian was there. And we have a representative on the committee as well, which
So are you, I mean, under this article, you're basically going to hand this project over to the building committee? It says under the, that's what this article says. Under the direction of the permanent building committee, is that what's going to happen?
I think we'll have to have some more conversations with them about what that would actually look like.
Okay, so we can't vote on this as written.
I think that's the language that needs to be included for MSBA, so that would be what would have to happen.
Okay.
I'm on a permanent building committee. We have not included this. I agree the roof has to be replaced. But for one member to go out and go to a meeting doesn't.
Bob, you should come up and use the mic just because there's people potentially at home listening. Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Bob Campbell, 51 Pine Street. So we haven't had a chance to look at it. Not that I'm opposed to it, just so you understand it, first and foremost. This roof has been a pain in our butt. I was involved in 1995 and 1998, so in 2006 and all the other times we had to deal with this thing. So the Permanent Building Committee should be probably one of the first things we should have gone to. And I've been on it now for almost a year, and we haven't had any conversation about it. If and when the project does become a reality, then yes, we have to take advantage of that. We have to work with them. So, but I think we haven't had that opportunity yet, just to be clear on that. Our chair going to a meeting and getting some information which he has not discussed with us, doesn't justify the fact that we've been informed. We haven't been. Before I forget it, I wrote down a couple of things too. The rotunda, please, whatever you do with the rotunda, if you can't take it off, please make sure that that is engineered properly, because that has been the biggest problem we've had. And the other thing I would suggest is some of the comments that you guys have made. I had the same questions. The warranty, forget about that. I have no trust in that ever happening again. But when we do this, we should also do the inside of the building. That should be part of the process. So when we're looking at repairing the roof, we can go back and repair the damage that's inside and make that part of it. As far as spending just over $400,000 a year for 20 years to take it out of the general fund, that's impossible, as Zach said. We can't do that. If we're going to do this, it has to be a debt exclusion override. It has to be done the right way. And I, for one, don't think it would be frowned upon. I think it would probably be the logical way to approach it at this point. So the roof has to get fixed. We've been patching this thing since day one. I can remember back in 2001 having a complete meltdown over it because the rotunda was breaking. It was coming down into the building, coming down different sections of the building. So it's been a long, long process. We have spent, I think, close to $750,000 in repairs over the years just to put Band-Aids on it. And it hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. So I would definitely encourage you to look at the possibility of going to the debt exclusion process, because we can't take I think I asked today about $408,000 out of the general funds. Police, fire, and schools will all have a meltdown on that one. So getting someone responsible to do it, making sure it's being done properly, making sure that these companies that say they're going to send people in writing, make them put it in writing that they're going to send people to look at it and make sure we get this thing done the proper way. But I'm concerned about the mold myself. With the amount of years this building has been leaking, and it's just it is a beautiful building. But when we built it, they called it the Taj Mahal, and they had a reason to call it that, because it was just so many different levels of it, and it's going to take a lot of repair and maintenance and bricks. I'm sure they're going to be running into brick issues as they're repairing the roof. So we need to find out the timeline for the grant money, and then we can kind of backtrack from that and determine if we have to have a special town meeting earlier this winter than wait till spring, because we don't want to lose that money. I mean, if that money's out there and available, we want to take advantage of it. But just a couple of thoughts. But the Permanent Building Committee has not discussed it yet.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask, it doesn't look like the select board's voted on this yet. Have they discussed it at all yet? Have they discussed a debt exclusion? I mean, I feel like that needs to happen before we can vote on it, like to know where that money is going to come from. And I mean, the select board's the one who decides whether a debt exclusion goes forward. So to me, it makes sense for them to discuss and weigh in on this before we do.
Yeah, I'm getting my first side of it tonight myself. My own fault, but I'm getting my first indication what it's all about. And it was very informative, and I thank you for that. But we have to convince the select board to do the debt exclusion. And I can't speak for them, obviously, so.
You have to convince the select board.
That too.
Mr. Chair? We are running out of time, so unless they put that on their agenda for the next meeting, we could table it for our next meeting as well. I think that, speaking for myself, I'm in favor of getting the roof fixed, but I think it needs to be done through a debt exclusion. And again, I'd like to see if we're doing a debt exclusion personally, possibly go with a full replacement and start from a clean slate, at least from the top part of the,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Yes.
And one more thing, just piggybacking on what Mr. Kimball said, we should get an estimate for what the damages are inside. If you need $100,000 to repair the inside, if you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to put it on a debt exclusion, I would include whatever the repairs are needed in the interior of the building and just get it all done in one swoop. Or at least put a contingency in of a number to have that repaired.
and also have the permanent building committee involved in the whole process, because they should have been.
Mr. Chair. Dr.
Yes.
O'Neill, has there been like an air quality test done at all in the building to know if there is a mold issue? Because that would be a whole other expense as well that we'd have to put in there as a
We just
contingent.
did one last week, and so we'll hopefully get the results soon.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to come to your next meeting if you'd like, if you want to put me on the agenda, but I'll defer. You let me know.
Yeah, I believe all remaining warrant items will be on the agenda. It's the last meeting before the town meeting. Next Thursday.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to table it since it was on our agenda for tonight, Mr. Chair.
I guess.
Like it was another time.
Mr. Chair? So I'm
Yes.
sorry, the next select board meeting is when?
A week from Thursday?
So we would not meet that following Monday. That's Columbus Day.
Holiday.
And then I believe the warrant would have to be posted after that. We wouldn't be able to meet again after next Thursday's select board meeting, I don't think.
October 7th to 9th, one of those days is the drop dead date for the warrant to be published.
So we have to vote on all articles by next Monday, but select board doesn't meet before Monday.
They do not. Because it needs to be published 15 days before October 20th.
Could they have a special meeting to handle that
This Thursday?
potentially? Because if it is a time constraint now to.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion here?
Yes.
This is, a major project for the town. I would suggest, instead of having a meeting after meeting after meeting, maybe a joint meeting with the school committees, this committee, and the select board, and just hash it all out in one night and be done with it, instead of going back and forth. Just a suggestion.
I don't want to say how successful that was for tomorrow night, but if someone comes up with a date that works for everybody, have at it.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the select board. They're planning on meeting next Thursday. I mean, this is the biggest thing on select board agenda is getting the town meeting warrants taken care of. I think
But that's actually too late for us to do ours if we're contingent upon them having their input.
if there was a joint meeting that day.
It might.
The 9th work? Is that the
I
last
thought you
date?
said the 7th would be the last.
7th would be the last date, the Tuesday, the 7th?
I would have to do the math.
So you guys can all come to our next meeting on Monday.
That's what I want to ask. If you're meeting on October 6th, would that be your next meeting?
Yeah.
Perhaps, Mr. Gould, we should suggest to the select board that we have a joint meeting with the finance committee on October 6th and do that. We come to this meeting. Because I think this is important enough that we have to react to it sooner than later. And I think it's important that we can't wait until the 9th, even though it's 3 days later. It gives you guys an opportunity to readdress some of these issues also. And the sooner we do it, the better. I'll suggest to the chair, select board chair, that we meet on the 6th.
To this committee, can people meet earlier than 7? Because this sounds like it's
Yes.
gonna be,
Yes. 6?
6:30 would be the earliest for me.
6:30.
okay. Then next Monday, we can do 6:30? Does that hopefully work for the select board?
Is that something we gonna vote on?
What about the school committee? Are they going to be, do they want to join us?
Do we need the school committee per se, or just school reps again like tonight?
I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, I don't know what the committee's gonna do.
Yeah, I'm not
I would
sure.
just hope everybody's on the same page,
Yeah.
particularly if you're asking the taxpayers for more money.
So to clarify, is this only on this warrant item, or would we be having the joint meeting for more items?
I would say continue with our meeting after it.
Right.
Bring this up first, then the joint meeting gets adjourned, and then we continue with our agenda on the finance committee.
We might, if they're amenable to that date, we might just post it as any other warrant items that might be beneficial to talk about together.
As long as we can get through our agenda.
Is there a rule in this committee that there's a certain time where it's required to adjourn? I know some.
9 o'clock.
No.
Mr. Gould, we've been
gone
here till, the cows come home.
When I was chair, we were here until 11 once.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend, because we do look for their input as well for some of the articles, that we go ahead and make it a joint meeting and run through the warrant and be done with it.
Yep. So Michelle can post that for next Monday, starting at 6:30?
Subject to the select board chair, I'm texting him now.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Did we ever have Steve trying to get in tonight and didn't get in, or did he?
I don't think so. For the longest time, no.
Just one panelist, that's me.
So I'm not sure if there's a problem with the posting, because that was one of Steve's concerns as well for last week. Is he even in the
there's-
right posting for the meetings?
But
There's
have-
8 attendees.
He would need a panelist password, wouldn't he?
I don't know. That's why he says he was frustrated last week, and I'm just trying to make sure that if one of us can't be here next Monday night, where it's a busy and an important night, that we're able to sign on and participate.
Do we need to vote or anything on the meeting time, or is that more clarified?
No, it'll just be posted as 6:30.
Okay,
Um,
sorry.
do we need to vote this or table
Table
it
this.
until next Monday?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table Article 11
Till next Monday?
till next Monday.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Brandon?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Andy? Paula?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
I too am a yes. Brandon, that's all you.
So with the chair's
Wait,
permission,
Old business, Bill?
Yeah,
Two items?
2 items left with the vice chair, now the chair, acting chair's permission. 2
Yes.
items, 2 remaining
Please.
items.
Pick up that gavel.
Yeah, that's it. Smack that.
Acceptance of Chapter 59, Section 5C a half, and reduce the age of eligibility from 70 to 65. We had discussed these in detail last time. There was a little question about which fiscal year. I think it was decided that it would be July 1st of the coming fiscal year. That would be the year to budget for it. If there's any other questions, unfortunately, we don't have identified where the approximate $100,000 would come from out of next year's budget yet. I plan on spending, I want to venture to say, at least 100 hours with the accountant between now and then to firm down the fiscal 27 budget. if there are any specific questions or if we're comfortable moving this one forward, I leave it to the, I'll take your lead.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Gould, did the selectmen actually, I see they've marked here, they did vote on it to go ahead and move it forward?
Yes, that's right. They were comfortable moving this one forward to the voters at town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that we move forward with and approve Article 13, the 59, Section 5C and a half.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I think last time we were looking for some direction as to how we would find these funds from the select board. Mr. Town Manager or representatives of the select board, did we get any indication or direction as to how we would fund this?
I mean, we have I've got dozens of department heads asking for more money to maintain their current programs, so it will be a challenge, and that's an understatement.
Okay.
Not saying it's not worthwhile. Seniors and veterans is surely a targeted tax exemption.
Good evening. One of the ways we get new growth, and I do have some history to share, some numbers going back 3 fiscal years. New growth gets certified by the Department of Revenue just about probably within the next 6 weeks. So for FY 25, which was certified in November of 2024, we actually had new growth between residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property, which all falls under the assessing department, $1.6 million. FY 24 growth from the Board of Assessors was $748,786. And then FY 23 was $832,494. So on an average, the last 3 years has been over $1 million of new growth identified through the board. You go back 10 years, you do see some, I wouldn't say like a hockey stick growth, but significant climbing. So I think what we're asking for, is $121,000. And, I look at it, you guys, the Finance Committee, your job is to ask those questions. And I think we can safely say that, we should be able to find this money. And I think, the people that need this money have lived in town 30 years, 40 years. And they were there supporting that roof in 1998 at the middle school. And right now, they're part of our community. And if we can help them out and continue on as growing the community to our agenda, I think that's all the better. So I hope to answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So, Mr. Dorney, the Article 13 out of Article 14, as they're presented in the warrant, do not have a figure attached to them. Do you have a current figure to attach to each one of those?
Yeah, so you mean numbers?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, reducing the age from 70 to 65, I'll give you the actual. So there is about 22% of our population is over the age of 65. And that, just bear with me for 1 second here. My apologies. Here we are. So,
right now, we have a total of just under 4,000 people from age 65 to 90. And from age 70 currently, which is stated now 70 to 90, there's 2,609 residents. And out of that 2,609 residents, we have 60 participants in service. So that's just under 0.02%. So if we took that, I'm not an actuary, but if we take that, reduce that 70 to 65, because we have 1,337 residents between the ages of 65 and 69, and we use that 0.02%, we're looking at another 26 people, 52 people, I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Dorney, what I'm looking for is just a ballpark figure. Denise did go over all the actuarial stuff last
Yeah.
meeting, but just looking so we can include with Article 13 and 14, a
Yeah.
number of a dollar amount.
Oh, well,
It's not gonna go in.
I don't think you
there.
can, because you don't know how many people are gonna take
And I
advantage of
know,
it.
We're not allocating money now.
So we're not, that's why it's
Just
not
approving
included on that?
this, Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
thank
an
you.
unknown. The
But that 26 times
2% would be 52 people.
what's the total of that? The 26 people estimated by the exemption amount? Do you have that figure?
That
Didn't they
would,
give us that last week?
But so then Sandy, the money would be for
Ms.
next,
Ellis said it, she didn't know.
Okay.
So
the money would be allocated next spring then for the following year, is that correct? So that's why we don't have a money figure for this year.
I guess I was just looking for a ballpark because it seemed like the 121 and change was pretty clear, but
Yeah,
Ms. Ellis
that-
was
that's-
a little bit less
that-
clear
that's
about
what it'll be.
the other article, the impact of the other article that they're changing the age from 70 to 65. She wasn't sure what that number was, and it sounds like you have some ballpark figures. So I was just wondering if we could finish that math.
Approximately 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just, Rick, you've been on this committee and you sat in the seat and you know how it is. And you bring up a good point, $1 million a year in new growth. But just to put things in perspective, just the health insurance increase for the town employees, one line item is over $1 million a year. One line item before we touched anything. Every year we sit in these seats and we decide who we're going to fund, who we're not going to fund. Are we going to cut school teachers? Are we going to cut firefighters? And now we want to take a cut. That's fine. But for me, I'm not an elected official. I'm a volunteer here. The select board should tell me, hey, this is a priority for the town. And I agree with it. We should give them tax breaks, right? But tell me this is a priority for the town and we're going to fund it with X. I'm not an elected official. It shouldn't be, because we're all going to be sitting here in the spring and we're going to be doing exactly that math, saying, all right, who are we cutting? Are we going to eliminate somebody from the senior center? Are we going to lay off a teacher? Are we going to do this? That's coming. Now, if this a debt exclusion doesn't pass, now we take 400 and some odd thousand, another 150, $500,000 right out of the budget. It is going to be a bloodbath out there. I'm just, as long as everybody's aware of that, that's fine. But I don't want any people crying and being shocked here in the spring. And we're sitting here saying, well, how did we get to this position? Just everybody should know that.
sure, but we're elected and appointed officials, and really, who sets the budget are the people that come to the town meeting and vote.
Correct.
That's the bottom line. And so, yeah, this fixed and shared cost, I mean, that's considerable, and it increases every year, I'm sure. But, if we're talking about this tonight and what we're asking for, and I think it's we all, and we when we presented it to the select board, they really embraced it as well. And also at that meeting was Estelle from Veterans, and she was on board with the seniors as well. So, we've done our homework. We have the numbers. We just want to have some momentum going into the meeting and say Finance Committee was behind this, Select Board was behind this. This is the reason why. The timing, if not now, when, right? So we feel that we've done our homework and we want to move forward.
Mr. Chair, another question, if I may. And this might be for the town manager. Is there a way to adopt these exemptions without decreasing the budget and instead spreading the cost over the rest of the taxpayers? Because personally, I'd rather pay out of my pocket than take it from the schools or wherever else we're going to have to find it in spring.
That's a great question. I think we can all agree that the seniors and veterans, targeted in financial difficulties could enjoy a benefit. With these exemptions, they're very specific. We adopt them and it takes from overlay, which takes from the budget. So the short answer is no.
No.
There are other exemptions. It's possible it would take a special act, but then it would be a burden shifting and it would go from one class of taxpayers to another class of taxpayers. But that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was just clarifying. I figured that wasn't an option, but just wanted to be sure. All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions or
Yeah,
discussion?
Mr. Chair, I know one year we actually got money back from the overlay because we didn't spend it all. Do we know if have we been spending what we've been allocating for the overlay for abatements and things like that?
We've been managing it.
Okay, so we don't have excess
No.
in there at
No.
all. Okay.
Anything else? Yep, we already had a motion and a second, so we'll vote.
To clarify, is this on both or one of them?
Just Article 13, I thought we would take them separately.
Yeah.
All right. Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
I am too a yes.
Onward.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve Article 14, an increase in the eligibility from 70 down to 65.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Questions? Nope. All right. Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And I too am a yes.
What else we got?
That's all we had for you, Mr. Chair.
Motion to adjourn?
Two
Thank you.
things.
All right.
So, and with our actual chair, we might not be able to answer these questions, but tomorrow we're supposed to have a joint meeting, and our chair mentioned I might be the only one there. Is that the case? So it's not really a joint meeting? Nobody.
We nominate you as king.
So I guess
And I will respectfully decline, as I always do when I'm nominated for things.
I guess procedural question, we can't have a meeting.
No, I'll just
No.
go.
No.
So it won't be a meeting. It's posted as a meeting, but if a quorum doesn't show, it won't be a meeting.
Okay.
It'll be a joint meeting of the select board and the planning board.
If they show up.
Yes, if a quorum shows up, yes.
Would you represent us well?
I will be happy to represent. And then that's all I had. I thought I had something else. Oh, good.
All right. We had a motion to adjourn. Have a second?
Second.
Need a second.
All right. Paul?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
I too am a yes.